Saw dudes. For a while, I've been wanting to get off of Strand Titan and try another build. Berserker is fun, but I wanted something else new. So I set out to make something of the re-enabled Pyrogale Gauntlets. These gauntlets cause Burning Maul to deal 650% increased damage and release 3 projectiles and become a one and done super. Also, Burning Maul and Consecration's second slam create flame cyclones that linger and track enemies while also applying Scorch. These gauntlets are great for applying damage over time, so when they were re-enabled, I had to give them another go. This build is pretty flexible and I have quite a bit of weapon loadouts again, so let's get started. The only super we will be using today is Burning Maul due to Pyrogale's exotic perk. With them on, the super actually turns into a pretty good one-off super for DPS rotations and even room clearing due to the homing cyclones. I chose to go with Rally Barricade for the lower cooldown since it can help with ability regeneration through our mod setup. Throwing Hammer is likely the best choice for the melee ability. It can be used indefinitely, assuming it's picked up after use, and essentially allows for 2 choices when approaching combat. Thermite Grenade is also the preferred choice in this setup. It's great for applying Scorch to groups of adds and has a long enough duration to lock down hallways. Aspects are actually up to the player. The non-negotiable one is Consecration, which lets us perform a sliding melee attack that launches a wave of solar energy that scorches enemies and launches us into the air. While airborne, the melee ability can be activated again to slay on the ground, releasing another wider wave that causes scorch enemies to ignite, regardless of the amount of stacks that they have. This will be our primary source of AoE damage. The second aspect could be either Roaring Flames or Soul Invictus. Roaring Flames provides a stacking ability damage buff through solar ability or ignition kills. At the maximum of 3 stacks, there is a 73% total damage increase. Soul Invictus causes solar ability kills and scorched enemy kills to create sunspots. Sunspots deal damage over time and apply Scorch every 0.56 seconds. Standing in 1 grants a Soul Invictus buff for 5 seconds, granting restoration times 1 and 100% additional base grenade and melee regenerate. If you are concerned about healing, use a Soul Invictus aspect. Fragments for today are Ember of Char, Eruption, Searing, and Torches. Char causes ignitions to apply 40 Scorch to enemies damaged by it. Eruption increases the radius of ignitions. Searing causes killing scorched targets to refund melee energy based on enemy rank. And finally, Ember of Torches causes powered melee hits to grant Radiant for 8 seconds. Alright, let's go over the Heat Blast armor. On the helmet, I used Harmonic Siphon, Special Ammo Finder, and Hands On. For Pyrogale Gauntlets, I went with Melee Kickstart, Momentum Transfer, and Heavy Handed. The chestplate had melee damage resistance, Charged Up, and Harmonic resistance. On the greaves, I chose to go with Stacks on Stacks, Recuperation, and Invigoration. And on the mark was Outreach, Powerful Attraction, and Rebirth. At this point, if you're playing a Titan, just max out Resilience. Due to our mod setup, our Barricade will be refunding melee and grenade energy, so it's best to reduce its cooldown. Next, try to get Discipline and Strength as high as possible. Let's go over the weapons for this build. Please refer to timestamps as needed. Weapon Loadout 1 uses Conditional Finality, Abyss Defiant, and the choice between Apex Predator and Throne Cleaver. Conditional Finality offers great total damage and utility. It can stun unstoppable champions easily and has Ignition and Shatter damage built in. The ignitions caused by the second shot can also benefit from Fragments, meaning that they spread Scorch and are larger. Abyss Defiant can be crafted with Reconstruction or Heal Clip in the 3rd column and Incandescent in the 4th, making it a great pick for general play. Reconstruction makes it ready for any situation, and Heal Clip provides sustain and prolonged firefights. Apex Predator is just a good DPS weapon, and I'm tired of praising it. You can craft yours with Reconstruction and Bait and Switch. If you want to mix it up though, try out Throne Cleaver. This Titan exclusive sword can be crafted with Tireless Blade in the 3rd column and Incandescent in the 4th. The sword on its own does a massive amount of damage, so Incandescent is just a cherry on top. Weapon Loadout 2 has Rufus's Fury, Prometheus Lens, and either Briar's Contempt or Cataclysmic. Rufus's Fury can be crafted with Demolitionist and Hatchling for some pretty juicy AoE damage and grenade regen. The enemies that Hatchling kills grant grenade energy, feeding the ability loop. Prometheus Lens scorches enemies on hit and also refills ammo on kill. The Catalyst also grants it Incandescent for easier ad clear and melee regeneration via Ember of Searing. To round out engagement range, I chose to go with an LFR in the heavy slot as suggested by Lurk. Briar's Contempt can roll with Reconstruction and Focus Fury for on-demand DPS. Its 3-shot burst can be annoying for some though, so keep that in mind. Cataclysmic on the other hand can be crafted with 4 times a charm and Bait and Switch. This roll sacrifices some ease of use for more damage and ammo economy. Use what works for you. Weapon Loadout 3 is meant for the run and gun playstyle and is made up of Monte Carlo, Without Remorse, and Apex Predator for the last time. Monte Carlo ensures that there is constant melee uptime and will receive a buff from Markov Chain times 5 due to melee kills. Without Remorse is essentially a flamethrower. A roll with Threat Detector and Incandescent make this gun unstoppable at priming ignitions for Consecration. Apex Predator populates the heavy slot once again, but you can sub it out for anything else at this point. Let's cover the game loop before ending the video. Consecration is very easy to use on its own, so you can use it as is, but always try to scorch as many enemies as possible before activating the second slam. You can do this by carefully aiming the first, or by using weapons with Incandescent or grenades. Personally, I found the damage of the ignitions to be pretty good, but it may not kill everything, so my suggestion is to play around Flame Cyclones. They track enemies, apply further Scorch, and set up melee regen. All there is left to do is build up super and play around cover. Use Burning Maul on Chucky enemies, and run back to it. Rinse and repeat. It's about time that I gave my Sunbreakers everywhere some love. I'm really happy with Pyrogales as they stand right now since they drastically changed the Burning Maul super. I know some will say that Synthos are better, but they do require being within 8 meters of enemies, which can be overwhelming at times. Regardless, thank you all for watching and happy farming.